Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon, we're joined by Ben Ivey, who is from Entrepreneur Lifestyle, which is his business. And we're going to have a little chat about that, about podcasting, networking, business, and anything else that takes our fancy. And how are you doing today, Ben? You okay?
No, I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm excited to be here on the show.
Yes, great. It's great to have you on as well. And yeah, you said to me in our brief chat before coming on that you're based in London, just south of London. So
Yeah,
that's interesting. I'll ask you a little bit about how London's doing now the lockdown's over, etc. Because what I'm hearing myself on the news is it's still slow to get going again. But maybe you might be able to give me a bit of insight on that in a bit. But before we go there, tell us a little bit about what you do, what the entrepreneur lifestyle is, and anything else you want to cram into that chat.
great little intro. All right. Well, ultimately, the entrepreneur lifestyle is helping entrepreneurs to live the lifestyle they thought they would have when they started their business. So often we get entrepreneurs that come to us who are overwhelmed, they're stressed, they're procrastinating, and they're unsure how to build their business whilst at the same time enjoying life in the process. So I've been doing this for just over 7 years. Usually I'm flying in between China, LA, and the UK. Obviously, I'm much more grounded this year back in Britain, but it's fantastic to be able to impact entrepreneurs from all walks of life, especially now that everything is online. We can take on people that we wouldn't be able to take on before.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So the entrepreneur lifestyle then is what, like an entrepreneur process or system for people to follow so they get a better work-life balance.
Yeah, so the aim of this is to enable someone to be more efficient in their business so that they can take more time off and the business is boosted with regards to its success.
Yeah, okay. Sounds a little bit like I do entrepreneur training and success training, really, which is all about using systems, technology, efficiency, and marketing, sales. Lots of uh, uh, great strategies, the pillars of success, in order to mean that you can get a level of success without having to slog at it all your life. So because obviously to most people a level of success is that balance. It's
Yeah,
that balance.
yeah, but certainly it certainly sounds to me like you're on the strategy side of things, the marketing, the sales. Obviously, you've had decades of experience in the sales and marketing. For myself, it's really about the mind. Like, how do we manage our emotional state? How do we not procrastinate in the day? And how do we become a master of our time so that we can more efficiently work on the business? And what is it that's actually holding us back to move our business forward to another level?
Okay. So you deal with a lot of like mental blocks, what do they call them? Limiting beliefs, all that sort of stuff. Is that the area you help people with?
Yeah, so if people have analysis paralysis, perfectionism, they feel like they please a lot of people around them. I mean, very often what I see is it's a business owner will lead with one thing, and very often it's something else. So, for example, I have a business owner come to me and they say, Ben, I see how you market. Teach me how to do marketing. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not a marketer. I'm not going to teach you how to do marketing. But I have the conversation, and within the first 5 minutes, it's not marketing that they need, really. They're a bit of a perfectionist. And this guy's a software company and he's attempting to use the same skills that make him an excellent software developer and apply them to marketing. But the challenge there is you can never get marketing perfect. And that was really stopping him moving forward. And once you come over that block of perfectionism, he ended up 10xing his business and starting to move out of that analysis paralysis that I think a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves in with this information overload that we're so used to now.
Yeah, and I think also as well, some people aren't always clear with their mission, their vision, their values. So if you can get them on point with that, that can give them clear direction in what they're trying to achieve out of life, and they can stick, heading in that direction in whatever they do, never losing track of what it is and why it is that they do what they do.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that the challenge that a lot of entrepreneurs face, especially nowadays, is that focus. It's so easy to have that shiny penny syndrome where, oh, that's a great idea, and that's a great idea, and never really finding that one thing that works consistently. And this rinse repeat, people are looking for that small little hack or this one thing that's suddenly going to boost their business forward.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, also as well, I think, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs as well, once they find their mission, their vision, their values, and once they actually clear on what they're trying to achieve, then they can actually find their voice and their confidence in their voice. And that actually helps them with their sales and their marketing and all of that. Because I think a lot of people, they don't know what to market and what to talk about, what to say about, because they haven't got all of that other stuff sorted out first.
Yeah, and I think that's incredibly important to have that mentor or coaching or something or someone who's been there before that can help guide you. I think it's a really big challenge when you're attempting to learn from books and mentors. And obviously, the hardest thing is that you have experts that say completely opposite things, and then you really don't know what exactly to do to best build your business forward.
Yeah, that's right. That's like with the people who tell you, you know, buy a house, don't buy a house. Yeah, house is asset, house is a liability. You know, what else do they say? You know, market a lot. You know, the most known will be the best, or you know, you have to be the best, or you know, don't do this and do that, and you get so many people, you know, yeah, pulling you to the left and pulling you to the right, and you end up stuck in the middle. Not
Yeah, and I definitely think that's incredibly challenging where you're in this mode of analyzing and you're just in this analysis paralysis and really not really sure exactly where to go, and you end up doing so many different things that you can't really move your business forward to where you want it to be.
Yeah, that's why I always believe in and encourage people to, you know, follow somebody who's been where you want to get to.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that completely. I think that having having someone who has been there and can show you the roadmap is of paramount importance to enable you to leapfrog as opposed to reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, that's why I tend to only get my information off five to maybe 10 people. And they are the people who are in the spaces I want to be the best in the world at. And they're the best in the world that I've found in those spaces.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that being able to have those key individuals that you can learn from that give you those insights allows you to really move forward in a very, very different way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm very conscious as well of you know, making sure you are learning wisdom and not knowledge. And for me, wisdom is the applied knowledge. It's the wisdom you get from applying knowledge into action and then analyzing that action in order to really hone in on the things that really worked. And that's a lifetime of experience and data that goes into that wisdom.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that wisdom obviously comes in many forms, but anyone can have knowledge. Whether you've had that experience is something completely different, and that's where you can actually see where the rubber hits the road. And anyone can talk about concepts, but when you apply that and you actually do it, that's where something completely different changes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's why I teach people about sales and marketing and social media and business growth and networking and all these things. Because one, I've won awards in all of those things, and two, I've spent a lifetime learning the skills and the experience and getting the knowledge and the contacts and the energy into your bones. You know, the vibrations of that sector. You know, it's the only way you can really become a master in something is just by sticking at it for an obscene amount of time.
Yeah, and I think it's that immersion that's very important. And I think that a lot of people are a jack of all trades, attempting to learn so many different things. Where once you learn the fundamentals, you can really apply that to a variety of different areas of your life.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So what does engaging with the entrepreneur lifestyle look like? You know, is it online courses? Is it seminars, videos? Is it one-to-one classrooms, master classes? What does it look like?
Sure. Well, it's either doing a 6 month entrepreneur lifestyle accelerator course where you have coaching within that, or it's just a one on one coaching. So, generally speaking, we get people to do an entrepreneur lifestyle accelerator course for the 6 months. So, they have all the different elements and the golden nuggets that we've experienced from working with entrepreneurs from all walks of life, and then having that ongoing coaching to then enable them to move towards where they want to be.
Okay, all right. And where do people go if they're interested in these courses and they want to subscribe? And now, where do they go to find out more information about this courses?
Sure, so they can go to my website, so it's ben-ivey.com, so I-V-E-Y, I'm not a plant. And then now I've got all the different courses that we have for entrepreneurs, but the Entrepreneur Lifestyle Accelerator is the main one that we're doing at the moment. I decided this year to simplify and to digitalize most of the seminars and workshops that I was doing to enable me to offer even more value to people as they're on that journey.
Yeah. Okay, good. And what's your background, Ben? What was it you've been doing in the past that led you to this business?
Sure. So previously, I did an import and export business. I was running an app in Silicon Valley, helping people to memorize things using VR. That was pretty fascinating. And then I ended up having a very life-changing moment for me that completely shifted my focus and exactly what I was doing. And that's where I ended up losing my father to suicide. And he was my best friend. I saw him the day before, and it was a moment of my life where the trajectory of what I was doing shifted completely, whereby I quit my business in Silicon Valley and I started to search as to what is it that drives people in life? Why do we do what we do? And how can we enjoy the journey and not create these parallel worlds where people see one thing, but underneath there's something very different going on? And then since then, I've obviously done training in NLP, a variety of different methodologies to hone my skills, similar to yourself, learning from experts, so that I could help people, no matter where they are on that journey, to move towards a lifestyle that they really enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. And yeah, so you've been through the journey yourself, if you like, and then you're looking to sort of guide people through a similar sort of journey for themselves.
Yeah, most certainly. And I feel that as an entrepreneur myself, obviously I can relate to entrepreneurs at a variety of levels. And then my trainers, most of them are entrepreneurial as well. So being able to relate to them on a personal and professional level that allows you to have that deep insight as to what it really is like to be an entrepreneur on this journey.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And yes, do you do other things as well, or you just focus on that? I know you said you've honed in and simplified this year, but do you do things like podcasting? Are you a speaker? All those sort of things because they're a natural fit, if you like, to some of the things you're already doing.
Yeah, so previously I was speaking conferences left, right, and center. So I was in LA, China, the UK. I'd speak at a variety of different things. Obviously, that's online. I now speak on a lot of different podcasts, sharing my message. And with regards to my podcast, I decided to launch a podcast. Well, actually, it's going to be launched over the next few weeks, but I've just been filming season one. And really, that was a way to be able to give back because I've met a variety of fascinating entrepreneurs on my journey, and I wanted to be able to share their stories and their insights so that other people could be inspired as to what is possible. So I think that certainly I do my fair share of speaking and training and things like that. And from the business standpoint, obviously my bread and butter is the entrepreneurial lifestyle. And then there's a small section whereby people come to me and they ask, Ben, I'd love to do what you do. Can you teach me? And I remember when someone first asked me that about 5 years ago, I said, absolutely not, because there's no way that I could possibly digitalize everything that I knew into like a package where I could genuinely say that they had the skills needed to be able to help those people. So it took me about 6 to 8 months until I felt ready that I could actually train people and take people on and then certify them. And previously it took me about 12 months. Now I do it in 6 months, just because I have those resources available for them to give them the skills needed to be able to then be a coach and a speaker online, and then ultimately to build a six-figure business.
Yeah, that's interesting because I myself am on a mission to do more speaking. So I've done quite a lot of speaking in like jobs and in my career and whatever. But that's the reason I started my podcast is because I wanted to hone in on the skills of speaking. Saying that, I've been talking for a living since I was 11, and I'm 43 now. So 32 years I've been living, making a career, by speaking. But I started a podcast because I wanted to hone in, speaking because I want to start speaking on stages a lot more, but also just perfect that, speaking to myself, via podcast, which is, speaking to a phone, if you like, rather than bouncing off someone or interacting with them. And also, learning to, I've been communicating and speaking on the subjects of the businesses I'm representing whilst I'm speaking on their behalf. So I speak in the credit industry. I used to go and do talks on that, and I've done talks on social media and that sort of thing. I wanted to hone in on being able to talk about anything, any subject matter and all sorts of things, and get that sort of pattern and the vocabulary and the stories and the messages, get all of that honed in so that when I can speak on stages, it's all there fresh, comments and quotes and knowledge and all that sort of stuff is to the fore, if you like, and at the top of your mind. So that's part of why I started my podcast. And I've recorded a lot of episodes because I'm looking to speak around the world, first of all, on how I recorded so many episodes in such a whatever space of time. And also then I want to, once I've burned that candle, then I can educate people on all of the subject matters that I know about that, So, speaking's a big thing for me. So if ever you get any speaking gigs or opportunities, they're looking for someone else, feel free to send them my way. The podcast as well. Obviously, you've got a lot of entrepreneurs that you want to give value back to. So do that first. If ever then you want some more entrepreneurs, I've interviewed 150 on my podcast, over the last few months. More than happy to send some your way as well. And I'm more than happy to get, some of the ones that you've helped along the way and you want to help them share their message. I can get them on my podcast as well if you want to. So I can help share their message to my audience of global entrepreneurs, which I've been building up, slowly but surely since April. I'm all about helping people and collaborating and all of that. So I've got quite a few Entrepreneur Podcast friends who I send my guests on to them after and vice versa. And I share their episodes and they share mine and all that sort of stuff. I'm all about helping each other, ultimately the more we can help each other get to wherever we want to get to, the better it'll be for us both. So feel free to reach out to me and share your launch and your content and anything that you want helping spread the word of. I'm more than happy to help spread that word.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think for those listening, I think that obviously when you're looking through partnerships, it's important to have win-wins. And I think that very often in life, it's very easy to go about it and wanting to get something from someone else, and being able to create those collaborations and those strategic partnerships, I think are of fundamental importance. And obviously on the speaking side of things, I love that you've been doing so many podcasts. I think that's fantastic to be able to hone your speaking skills. I know for myself, I've done hundreds of videos online to be able to hone mine. And then when I'm up on stage speaking to hundreds of people, HSBC or Coca-Cola or all these different people, it's obviously a very different experience. Actually, one of the most challenging speeches I've ever done was the TED Talk I did in Mandarin. That was probably the most challenging one. Like attempting to do it in a different language.
It sounds
Oh yeah. That gig was on another level. But yeah, when I train TEDx speakers and things like that, I do a lot of that out in China, and it's fascinating to see how people share, how they share, what they do. And I think that whenever you move into the speaking field, and for those listening, if you can find your authentic self and how you best manage yourself on stage, I think that's one of the best things you can do, because it's that authenticity that really shines through. And it's not about modeling and becoming someone else. It's really about being able to be that best version of you and showing up in the most authentic way you can.
Yeah, well, I'm big into authenticity, with me, I am what I am, you know what I mean? And people can either take it or leave it, and I don't care, to be honest with you. We all want numbers. We all want people to, listen to us and watch what we're doing, but I don't do it for the numbers and for that. I do it because I can help people, and it doesn't matter if I can help 1 million people or 10 people, as long as I can help someone. And so it's up to whatever the numbers will end up being, will end up being what they end up being. And if it's less than 10 or less than 100, or if it's not worth it, from the amount of effort and time or whatever, for the number of people impacting, I'd knock it on the head and help them in another way. But it's about trying to reach as many people as possible and trying to help as many people as possible, to me and for me. So the numbers are important, but as long as I'm helping some people, as long as some people give me feedback that, okay, that was good, or I learned this, or I learned that, or I applied this, then to me, I'm doing my job. I'm helping someone.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that having that outcome and being able to inspire or help people in a different way is ultimately, one of the best things we can do as entrepreneurs as we go on our journey. And yeah, I think it's fascinating the impact we can have on people, even when it's just a conversation or sending like one thing. It's amazing to see how that then snowballs and impacts them through time. I genuinely think it's amazing how the world works.
Oh yeah, it's magic. I had a friend of mine actually. I used to work with him in a different sister companies, different brands of the same group, and we knew each other a bit, but not massively, because he was based in a different building and a different part of Wales and all that. And I met him networking, and he was out networking, but still employed at the time. And we was having a conversation, and I was just going on about how great life is, not having to answer to anyone else, and running your own thing and all of that. And then I met him networking a few like years later or whatever, and he was running his own video business, production company and all of that. And he was saying I was inspired by a conversation I had with him to just do it, And so, it doesn't matter. That's one person that decided to take this crazy, hard, not for everybody journey in life of running
Yeah.
his own thing. And I inspired him to do that. And that's one more person, as far as I'm concerned, that's living the right way of living. It's not everyone's way of living, but I think it's actually achievable and suitable to a lot more people than actually have the balls to give it a go. And my mission is a bit about educating and confidence building and self-esteem building and all of that, to try and get more people to actually give it a go, because it is a fantastic life for people who want more out of life than just turning up to the same business for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then dying and having nothing to show for their life because they've just been in a job forever.
Yeah, and I think that certainly when we look at our lives, I think that there's so many people now, and I think that obviously COVID has impacted people negatively in a huge way, but I think there's also that opportunity of people looking back at their lives and thinking, this is a moment where I've got nothing to do, I'm at home, am I doing what I really want to do? And I think that that is such a blessing to be able to have that space to think in a different way, to do business in a different way, to really think about why are you doing what you're doing and what is it that you really want. And I think that as people dive into that and they think in different ways, it just enables them to really see if the path that they're on is the right one, or if they need to go do something different to help them move forward.
Yes, definitely. I think the 1.5 million or so youngsters in the UK who have all just been made redundant because they're at the bottom rung of the ladder of work and hospitality. They're in the hospitality sector, and you know, there's some other sectors I can't think of right now. But there's a lot of people who are young who sending off their CVs left, right, and centre and trying to get another dead end job like the one they just been let go of. And they could be harnessing the power of their £600 device that they got in their pocket and that they're on constantly. And they could actually be utilizing it, not to TikTok and do dances, but to TikTok for business and to do Instagram for business and all these other platforms, and actually go into whatever it is that they want to do in their life and forget about worrying about whether they're going to get another bar job or another another hotel receptionist job or whatever it may be. This is it is a time for people to take stock and reflect, and I think if people actually decide to do something great in this time, then it'll be that pivotal moment in time that made them get onto the right path that they should have been on all along in their life, and actually chase their goals and their dreams, and don't put all of that stuff off just to get a guaranteed pay packet at the end of every month.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that nowadays it's such a shame that the youngsters as such have an environment whereby there's this instant gratification of watching these things instantly, and I think it's such a shame that even in our education systems, and there isn't a way to really teach people the patience needed to build a successful career. I feel that there's this entitlement. There's I don't want to do that. Yeah, I could, but I'd love to wait for something else. I think that it's incredibly challenging, especially in the environment that we're in, to figure out how to really move forward. And this is where, when I work with entrepreneurs and they're thinking to upgrade their skills, or I'm mentoring youngsters as well, I speak about something called identity capital. Like, how do you build up your skills so that you can get towards where you want to be? And if people can spend more time during this period laying a foundation, so that when 2021 arrives and maybe it's let out, I don't know if it's 2025, we'll see, but you emerge and people can't recognize you because you've laid such a strong foundation to enable you to move forward.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think youngsters, especially today, like you say, everything's so fast paced that they expect to become a master, by taking one lesson. You know what I mean? Whereas, like we talked about already, it takes 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to really become a master. And what people, like the picture that goes around in all entrepreneur circles, of the iceberg and the tip of the iceberg, and, people see the success and the, wealth and the trappings of success and all of that. And then underneath is all this other stuff which they don't see, which is like, the day in, day out hard work, working on a Saturday, working on a Sunday, working till late in the evening, doing admin, running around juggling, 4 conversations and, between, WhatsApp and Messenger, all that sort of crazy stuff that makes you successful. They don't see all of that, and they just see the end point, and they think, oh, well, they try something, and because they can't get to that end point in a couple of weeks, they give up. And they, go and do something else. And what Lord Sugar have said, and I've been there listening to, and a number of other entrepreneurs over the years that I've listened to have said, is sometimes you just got to get in the queue and stay there. You know what I mean? So do something that you like and you're passionate about, and get at the back of the queue, and eventually the queue will get around to the front. And if you can be a bit clever in your queuing and innovative and creative and efficient, now you'll get to the queue much quicker. But sometimes just longevity will get you there as well. And so I think Gary Vee's a big person who talks about this as well, is you have got to have patience. You know what I mean? It's not a case of I'm just going to start. It's like people set up a TikTok and an Instagram and a YouTube, and they're like, well, I haven't got like 100,000 followers by the end of the first year. So they're like, I'm going to knock that on the head. And it's like, well, it takes a bit of time, but what people don't see is the compound effect and the speed up. And so sometimes it starts off really, really slowly, but as momentum builds, it can really, really accelerate really quickly. And so you can get from, it could take you ages to get from A to D or something, but then you can get from, say, E to Z really, really quickly.
No, certainly. And I think that, the compounding effect in finance, the compounding effect in life, I think that it's as Steve Jobs said, right? We join the dots later in life. And I think that it's so easy for us to look ahead and think, oh, I'm not where I want to be. And I think that at the beginning of this year, everyone had their big goals, their big aspirations. And obviously by February, that went down the drain. And I think it's so easy to put all this pressure on ourselves, when the truth is that most of us overestimate what we can do in a year. We underestimate what we can do in a decade. And I think it's that patience and staying on track. And as you rightly said, staying in the queue. It's so important. I see entrepreneurs time and time again, jumping from queue to queue, looking for project to project, looking for these different things, instead of doing what's needed and just building it up through time and actually laying that foundation to really expand.
Yeah, and just for clarification, when I mean queue, and probably we too, we don't mean you have to be in the same job or whatever, but be in the same sector, keep doing the same things, be in the same industry, keep really. I've had loads of different jobs and loads of different experiences. It's probably what has elevated me, ahead of some people my age who've had similar sort of careers, because I've got more diversification, more information, more knowledge that I've gone into that analysis, if you like, into that joining the dots. It's not about staying in the same job or whatever. It's about picking a sector, picking a field, and honing your skills in that area. So I've been in and out of all sorts of opportunities and situations or whatever, but they've all come under the area of sales and marketing. You know what I mean? And so they're all just extra levels and skills and layers of knowledge and information in that sector. And like I say, there's nothing wrong with. I spent like a couple of years. I spent 5 years in the double glazing industry, worked for 3 different businesses, doing telesales and field sales and market sales. Then I spent a couple of years finding the right B2B platform for me to go into. So I tried about, probably about 10 different industries then. And then
Yeah.
I got into a business and a company I liked, and I worked there for 10 years. I got promoted 9 times in 6 years. So I did 10 different jobs in that business in that 10 years. So it's not about sticking in the same queue and just do the same thing forever and not change. It's about the same queue as in this is the same industry. And maybe I can bounce around in jobs and experiences and different things in that sector, but it's all going to add to my wealth of knowledge, my experience and all of that, which means when you get 10, 20, 30 years into the business, all of a sudden you're an amazing strategist because you've had so much experience that's all interchangeable and relevant and all has synergy, and therefore you can do something great in that sector because of all that wealth of knowledge and experience that you built up.
Yeah, and I think most certainly, I think one of the most important things is not to figure out, oh, this is the perfect thing for me, because the truth is, you probably are never going to find that. And instead, it's taking those small steps that's heading in the right direction, right? So if you're in sales and marketing, yeah, take a sales job, a marketing job. Are you going to do accounting? Probably not. And this is where you've got to make sure that you're at least making that progress. And I think there's too many people waiting for that perfect opportunity, when the truth is, if you can just get going and just look for something small that's at least in that area, suddenly you're starting to move forward in a different way. And I think that that's one of the life lessons that when we apply allows us to really make incredible progress year on year, so that 10 years down the line, you have made leaps and bounds of more progress than anyone else in that industry.
Yeah, more or less, any opportunity is a perfect opportunity if you invest 10, 20, 30 years of your life in perfecting that opportunity. You can almost become a grand master or a Jedi in anything if you put 10, 20 or 30 years of your life into it. There's too many people, like you say, they're looking for the shortcut. They're not prepared to stick at it. You know what I mean? You could be the grand master of tiddlywinks if you want to. All you got to do is just play a lot of tiddlywinks.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think that being able to clarify for yourself where it is that you want to end up is most important, so that you can really build everything up in a way that sets you up for that long-term success. And obviously there's a variety of different skills needed, especially nowadays where we constantly have to reinvent ourselves, our skills, our businesses as the landscape changes. But being able to lay that foundation, have that strategy, being able to not just be good at one song, but become a musician. And I think it's that differential that really allows people to move forward in a way where it doesn't matter what's happening in the business environment, they have what they need to be able to thrive no matter what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, COVID forced a lot of people to learn new digital skills now. And, the speed of digital and everyone going on it means that the skills you do learn, like you can learn how to do Facebook marketing or LinkedIn marketing, but the socials are changing all of the time, and the speed in which they change all of the time gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And things like, you can learn SEO, how to get your website ranking, and how to do e-commerce, and all of these skills. You're constantly learning them, but they're constantly changing all the time, and you have to keep learning them. So I'm a lifelong learner and a lifelong educator. So I don't just learn what I learn, but then I educate other people, and I just don't just then get my applied wisdom out of what I'm doing, but I get the applied wisdom out of watching what other people are doing as well, that you've educated. So you get the compound effect of analysis on multiple people putting into practice the education rather than just the education. And I think, being able to pivot during the lockdown situation. There's lots of things during life, changing market conditions, changing technologies, changing different things. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we have to adapt to them. And so the better we're honed in on making changes rapidly and learning new skills and all of that, the better we can take advantage of all of these major life situations that tend to come around, every 10 or 20 years anyway,
Yeah, and I think that being able to take advantage of those situations, starting to really move things forward sustainably and seeing what's on the rise is incredibly important in every aspect of our lives. And I think that the quicker that we can take advantage of everything that's around us, no matter how small it may be, really enables us to be at the forefront of ideas and the innovations that are taking place more rapidly than ever.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, why I've always been in digital. I've been in lockdown for 8 years. Working from home, technology, all of that stuff. And everyone else has just joined my bubble now. The mass market have gone in, but I'm moving out of lockdown now, and I'm into globalization. And all of those businesses that are now pivoting to online, they're going to be doing what I'm doing in like 8 years' time or a year's time. Some of them are already going global, but it's mostly the ones that have been doing online for the last 10 years are now gone global. And the ones who were just doing local and traditional stuff are now going digital, but digital local, and they'll all catch up and do digital global. It's about sometimes being at the front of the curve rather than at the back of the curve, because that's where the successes happen. But what's driven me towards following that over the last, probably since the dot-com bubble, if you like, was like, since that dot-com bubble, lots of businesses failed during that dot-com time, but all of the successful businesses that sit in the world right now were all started at that time. Yeah, and it only takes 15, 20 years to become the best company on the planet in certain sectors, because sometimes you're not competing against anyone because you've innovated and you're the only company on that planet. You're the lead company in that. So you're going to be the top company in that space, like the top search engine, like the top online shop, like the top, social platform, like the top blogging platform, like the top, podcasting, whatever. All of these companies have all started from the dot-com time. And there's going to be a load, like the top 15, 20 companies in the world are all tech companies, and all the traditional companies are all dying on their backside. And probably now, because of the accelerant of this situation of so many companies going online, there's going to be another 100 odd tech giants, formed in the next 10 to 20 years. And people need to look at their business and their opportunity and their opportunity for growth and where they sit in the marketplace and stuff, and look at, can I be one of those, 100 tech giants? Am I what I doing now? Is that something that can be global? Can it be, dominant in its field, and can it be innovative and creative? And if not, why not, as the whole world has ripped up its rule book, and what used to apply doesn't anymore, and there's a whole lot of new rules that apply, why not do the same with your business? If you don't think you can become one of those tech giants or global leaders, rip up the rule books and create something that you think you can become one of those world leaders in.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that being able to reinvent, do things differently, figure out where you want to end up is so important, especially nowadays, as you rightly said, right? Tech is changing. And I think if you don't reinvent your business now, you'll get left behind. And that's what's happened time and time again in different industries. And being able to really be ahead of the curve, I think, is one of the best skills and assets that you can have as an entrepreneur during these time periods.
Yes, definitely. And I know in the UK government and in the Welsh government, especially, so in the UK, there's a lot of grants available at the moment for
Yeah.
innovation, for technology, for, exporting, so producing something that we can then take around the world, because the governments understand that this is where the future's at. And so it's investing and bribing people and doing whatever it can to get it's giving you grants to focus your attention on the areas it knows it wants to excel in. So it's trying to, pull the strings of, or manipulate, or incentivize, or whatever you want to say. It's trying to shape people to go off in that direction. And so the government is telling you basically that this is the direction to go into. So take advantage of the situation and go in that direction.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that people being able to take advantage of that, to be able to look into the grants, look into all these different opportunities that are available, really can enable you to make an incredible amount of progress. I think that it's so easy for us to look at this time and think, oh, I don't know what to do, not to take any risks. And it's really now where you want to lean in and you want to make those investments, spend that time doing these different things to really enable you to have that strong foundation and to take advantage of the opportunities that are here.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a massive networker, and so I get a lot of people on my podcast from my network and from new networks that I've joined since going global and since doing online global events. So if ever you come across any of my contacts, most of them are networkers. So feel free to introduce yourself to them, or if you want me to do introductions, feel free if you introduce yourself to them, cut me out, just tell them you met me. This is not just for you, but my listeners as well. If you want me to do introductions personally, because you're somebody you really want to do business with, I'm happy to do that as well. I just wanted to know, do you do much networking yourself?
Yeah, for me, I think that when I look into networking, I did some offline networking here and there, but for me, it's about finding strategic partnerships. I think that when you look into networking, this is from my point of view, I think it's important to figure out what is the outcome that you have. And for me, when I'm flying around the world, going to different events, doing these different things, it's looking into who are the strategic partnerships that I can develop that enables me to help them win, help me win, and ultimately help impact more people around that. And I think that by going with that intention, it's enabled me to have these opportunities where I will really build a strong network where I have a good connection, as opposed to having thousands of connections to people where you really don't know what they do and you don't have that connection. And that's my personal opinion on the networking side of things.
Yeah, well, so a lot of people, when they go networking, they go looking for customers. But my strategy is to go and find collaborators, partners, strategic,
Yeah.
the one-to-manys, the lead referral partners and all that sort of thing. So it sounds like we have a very similar strategy there. So I'm sifting through the 40, 50 people in the room to try and find the 5 strategic partners that we can go and do some great things together with,
Yeah, and I think that strategic partnerships is really how you move your business forward in a very different way. I mean, you can get one fish, but then you've got to keep going fishing. It's much easier to be able to find someone else that's also fishing for those fish, right? And suddenly you guys can work together. And I think that it's really those strategic partnerships and actually that human connection that is so important to enable you to really build a business in a different way, because you never know who knows who.
No, exactly. And I've got a massive map on my wall over there, and it's got a lot of red pins on from where I connect with people, where I'm connected to them, where I get them on my podcast, where I got strategic partners, that sort of thing. And I'm filling up America and Europe and Africa and India, a little bit in Australia, but I need some more people. But I'm weak in China. I haven't actually got one pin in China. And you said you've done some speaking in China, and that means you've done some education in China. That means you've been dealing with somebody of influence in China somehow, because they're the ones who would have got you over, chatting, all of that sort of thing. If you can help me by an introduction some way to somebody on China so I can get a pin in China, then that would be much appreciated.
Sure. So, when it comes to China, I've been speaking in and out of China at least twice a year for 7, 8 years. So I have a very extensive network in China. So whenever I look into strategic partnerships in China, it really just depends on who you're looking for. Like, I know everyone from event coordinators to like key opinion leaders to people that are up in Beijing, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and I think ultimately that's something that obviously I've built over time, and I know you have as well. It's just figuring out what exactly you're looking for and who's that person that would be best to introduce you to.
But my A1 avatar, my prime person I love to get on my show and chat to are connectors, big networkers, people who probably run a massive networking organization in China or something like that, or if you don't know somebody like that, somebody in the event space, they're often similar type people anyway, but they're connectors of people, if you like. They work with a lot of different people, so something like that. And then my next probably A2 prime avatar is people involved in sales, marketing, digital, podcasting, that type of stuff. So people like ourselves, podcasters and communicators and stuff. I'm a massive networker as well, as he. So I've managed to find quite a few power networkers, I call them, people who've got big networks and are willing to join the dots and put people together and that. I've managed to find quite a few during these lockdown situations and whatever. So anyone that, you think if it's that bill in China, or it doesn't matter if they're not Chinese. I'd like some Chinese people, ideally, but also if they're from anywhere in the world but based in China, there'll still be a red pin in my China map.
Yeah, I mean, I lots of people come to mind. I mean, like I said, I've got a pretty big network, so yeah, there's lots of A1s, A2s. I can do some introductions. The main thing is there's an app out there which we use called WeChat, and that's pretty much the best way to connect. Similar to WhatsApp, but it's the Chinese version. So you've got to be able to download that, and that's probably the easiest way to do intros.
Okay, all right, I'll have to bear that in mind as well. But if you could send me some contact, maybe via LinkedIn or wherever as well, that'd be good. And who's the sort of people you like to connect to? Because I'll send someone back in reverse.
Sure. For me, I'm always looking to give back, and obviously podcasts and things like that. I think that's a great way to be able to have a connection with someone and to speak and to inspire others. And obviously you've had a variety of different entrepreneurs that you've worked with, and I'm more than happy to speak on their podcasts if you think that it would be relevant. And I'm obviously more than happy to share contacts and vice versa so that we can both grow.
Yeah, well, there's a great friend of mine who runs a podcast called the Fire in the Belly podcast. Pete Longton, his name is, Mighty Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll do a 2-hour life story of your life. And for me, it's the first time anyone's ever gone through my whole life in chronological order for me to sort of think about the beginning to where I am now. And that gave me a lot of fresh information and knowledge, which allowed me to really hone in on my why. To help me discover my why. And I've always been around my why all my life. I've always been in sales and marketing, entrepreneurialism, helping people, But what I discovered is that instead of just helping entrepreneurs, which is the area I've always worked in, I just like helping people. So I started helping people in mental health problems and just all sorts of areas. My podcast covers positivity and motivation and not just entrepreneurialism and sales and marketing and all of that, because I set it up during the lockdown. I wanted to help people, be motivated and positive and do some personal development and all that sort of stuff during this time, because I know, people are going to need it. There's a lot of people suffering with mental health problems right now and that sort of thing, So he helped me sort of crystallize that, really, that I didn't want to just help entrepreneurs, which I've done all my life, but I wanted to reach out and help more just people.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that he obviously sounds like a very fascinating individual. I'm more than happy to give back. I've dived into my life story on various podcasts, and I always think it's fascinating to see how the podcaster asks different questions or phrases them in a way that you haven't thought about before. And I think ultimately being able to have those insights and share with people online is one of the best ways to inspire them, is to see what's possible and actually see how long a journey takes in order to get to success.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you've got a 2 hours spare one day, then he'll take you through the life story. If you just reach out to him, you can contact him on all socials and all of that. Fire in the Belly podcast, Pete Longton, Instagram, LinkedIn or whatever. And just tell him Mike sent you. And he's more than happy book you in, because he loves having, he's similar to me, likes entrepreneur chats. Mine are normally 45 minutes because I'm all about the numbers, whereas he's more about the passion, about what's driving you to do what you do. That's why it's called the Fire in the Belly. So he wants to get to the crux of, he loves learning of entrepreneurs and chatting with them and understanding why it is they do what they do and all of that. Whereas with me, I like finding a lot of that information out as well, but I'm on a mission to do numbers, you know what I mean? So I couldn't do 2 hours every time. I have had a couple of hour and a half, 2 hour ones where, you just can't end it because things are going great. And there's been lots I have ended because of time pressure that I've not wanted to end. But, you got to do what you got to do, haven't you? I love chatting to people. I love listening to people. I love helping people. So, and I do all of those things whilst I'm putting content out and trying to achieve my own crazy goals.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that's amazing. And I think for the listeners, I think it's so important to be able to have those honest, authentic conversations with people, because you really never know where one contact may lead. And I think back to when I started being a guest on other people's podcasts, and I always ask at the end, do you think there's anyone else who I could be on a podcast? And that has led me to so many different opportunities and people. And I think it's so nice to see that if you don't ask, you don't get. And just by a simple question, you never know where that may lead.
No, that's the same with anything in life. You never like I volunteered for friends of mine to go to a business expo and work on their behalf. They run Wales's biggest business network, Intrabiz. They're called intrabiz.co.uk for those listening. And volunteered to go to the event and ended up in a room with Grant Cardone, who now is my mentor from afar. My blueprint. He's the person that's most living the life I want to live. So I got a number of mentors for different things, but he would be my number one because he's living the life exactly how I want to live it in 20 years older than me.
Yeah.
So in 20 years time, if I'm living the life he's living, I'll be quite happy with that,
Yeah.
And so, that led from me volunteering and ended up in a meeting I wasn't supposed to be at. So like you said, no one ever knows anything you do in life, what's going to come from it. So I'm a yes kind of guy. I say yes to most things because so many different things have happened to me because I've said yes. And I love the Jim Carrey film, where he just says yes to everything or whatever. And I'm very similar to that. And you just never know where things are going to go. So I always say to people, don't say no to stuff. Take the opportunity, work out if you like it or not. And then if you don't like it, don't keep doing it. And if you do, keep doing it or see where it takes you and meander to something else and just see where life takes you,
Yeah, most certainly. And I think that really being able to say yes, have those opportunities and to be open-minded to what will come is one of the most amazing things. And I think it's easy to get bogged down with focusing on one thing when the truth is that human connection and that network is one of your most powerful things.
Yeah, definitely. I'm conscious you got other things you got to be doing. So
I do, yeah. I'm sorry.
But thanks very much for coming on my podcast. And if you want somebody to return the favor, or you want me to come on your podcast when it gets going, by all means, reach out. And let's connect.
Sure, I will do.
On other socials, okay?
Sounds good.
Yeah, brilliant. And don't forget to tag me in when you're doing your launch.
Yeah, I will do. I'll share you with everything that happens as I start to push it out.
Brilliant. All right, then, well, nothing else left to say other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening.
Amazing.